You are looking at my new CCIE rack that I've been building for quite some time as I worked through my CCNA and CCNP and CCNA security studies and certifications. I've slowly but surely acquired more gear to make up the CCIE route and switch lab. I have a lot of extra gear in here, security and things like that, firewalls and a VPN concentrator and stuff like that for other purposes. But for immediate, and what I'll be using this rack specifically for is the IE route and switch exam, lab exam. If you look at the top where this blue console cable protrudes from and the green console cables, that's my AS2511 RJ terminal server that feeds into all of these routers below, as well as my switches for term serve access into those guys. Starting with the top switch here, we've got a 3550 24 port EMI switch. Below that is the same. The two switches on the bottom are 3550 48 port switches. They're both EMI versions as well. The Internetwork Expert lab topology and wiring diagram is what I've gone off of. INE does require two 3560 switches, however, those are extremely pricey for a home lab and too much for what I can afford at present time. So the 3550s will have to do for me, and should I need certain commands and certain things that I'll need access to throughout the labs that the 3550s may not provide, I'll just buy tokens on INE.com and use their resources. Otherwise, I should be able to pretty much get everything done. I think there's a few things like private VLANs I know that you can't do on the 3550s. Although I haven't tested that, that's what I've heard. I'll have to let you guys know in a future post. Below that, I've got all my routers, starting with the top router is R1. Got them nice and neatly labeled here. R1, that is a 2611 XM router. I chose to opt with the XMs, obviously, so that I can run 12.4 code, and additionally I maxed out the memory to 256 DRAM and 48 flash, make flash. So below that I've got R2, R3, R4, R5, and R6. Again, all those are 2611 XM routers with full maxed out memory. And below that I've got my BB1 device, which is my Backbone 1 device. That has a NM8AS module to run all my serial interfaces for my frame relay connections. That is also running 2611 XM. Below that, I've got BB2. That is actually a 2621 with 64 DRAM and I believe only 16K flash. I tried to acquire a 32K flash chip, which I will actually probably still try to acquire. The reason being, the images for the 64/16 memory capacity does not allow for IPv6 router OSPF configuration functionality. I spent a couple hours last night installing and loading multiple different iOSs with the parameters that I have on this router and was unsuccessful in configuring just a couple commands for IPv6 OSPF. So I'm going to need to go ahead and get this upgraded on the flash portion to at least a minimum of 32 to be able to house an image that can handle that type of configuration. I'd like to try to mirror and mimic the lab as much as possible, and certainly go by INE's configurations on the backbone devices. Even though my understanding is in the lab you don't touch the backbone devices, you don't configure them, and nor do you have full show access to be able to see everything. Still want to be able to mimic it as much as possible. Below that, I've got a let's see, that's also a 2611 XM. That is the BB3 device. And then on the very bottom is actually just a spare router. I'm not using it in the lab currently. So this is my CCIE rack, all cabled up to Internetwork Experts specifications for the lab. You'll notice at the top I've got some other devices that, as I stated, I'm not using currently for the IE rack as they're not required. But the two routers on top of my 3550 switches are, again, just some spare routers. One of them is a 2621, the other is a 2611 non-XM. I was going to sell those, but I decided that I wanted to use those for an alternate lab later on in the future. An issue may pop up or something that I want to throw over on a different lab. I don't have to pull apart, my nice, neatly cabled up, well, it's not super nice, but won't have to pull apart all my wiring and things like that I've cabled up to INE specifications. Above that, I've got a 1924 XL switch and a 2950 switch. So just some basic equipment up there. Directly above that, underneath the tray, I've got a Cisco 3002 VPN concentrator. To the right of that is an Aranet 350 wireless access point. Above that on the left, actually sitting on the tray, is a PIX 501. Over to the right of that is an ASA 5505. I actually have two of those. This one's in my lab. The other one I'm actually using in my production home network currently. And on the very top of the access server is a power switch so that I can remotely power on this rack at any given time, not being present in front of it. So that is my CCIE rack. Thank you for watching.